Fenbendazole is not a dog dewormer. That's what we're told. It's a dog dewormer. It's not a dog dewormer. It's far more than that. That would be like saying water is for watering lawn. Well, it's also necessary for every biochemical reaction on Earth. It's necessary for life to exist. It's necessary for photosynthesis to take place. It's necessary to keep the Earth warm. It's necessary for weather. Like fenbendazole. Now, what does fenbendazole primarily do? Is it binds to the B tubulin, which is kind of like these little protein structures like skeletons inside a parasite. So they can't move, they can't eat, and all that. It also blocks their ability to use glucose and they die. But it's not just worms. Yeah, it's a dog dewormer, but it also works for cattle, for sheep, for elephants, for raccoons, for lions, for cougars, for gazelle, for deer, for bears. Did I say raccoons? Elephants. And not just worms. It gets cestodes, it gets nematodes, it gets flukes, but it also gets protozoa like Giardia, which is not a worm, but it's a single-celled organism that can be a parasite. So that's what it does. But it also seems to work in other ways, because they said that fenbendazole is not really approved for human use, whereas mebendazole and albendazole, its cousins, are approved for humans, and fenbendazole is approved for animals. Why? Because they do research with fenbendazole in animals, but not with humans. And they do research with albendazole and mebendazole with humans and not with animals. And so that's why. Then comes along Joe Tippins in 2016. Small cell lung cancer, went to MD Anderson, did everything he was supposed to do, got the chemotherapy, etc., and it did what we expected to do, and that is it caused incredible metastasis. He wound up with, I think, 92 tumors, far more than they could manage, and they told him, Joe, it's time to go home, call hospice, and get ready to say your final goodbye. He went home, had a friend who is a large animal vet, and said, Joe, whenever we're treating an animal for worms and it has cancer, the cancer goes. So Joe said, I'm going to try that. He tried it. Within 3 months, his scans were clean. And to this day, his scans are clean. So he kind of proved that it works with humans as well, right? But what does it do with cancer? How does it work? Well, as we said, it binds to the microtubules, right? Which is very similar to certain chemotherapies called the taxanes do. Like Taxol and Taxotere, those kinds of things. What are also called vinca alkaloids, binding to the microtubules. That's what it does. But in addition to that, by binding to the tubules, what does it do? It prevents mitosis, which means that the cells can't divide, they can't proliferate, they can't grow. And it also leads to apoptosis, which allows it to commit suicide. So it does both of those things, right? Now, it also causes the cells to get arrested, what they call G2, can't continue to go. It upregulates P53, which is the major tumor suppressor gene that we have that gets downregulated with cancer. It upregulates it, brings it back into being. Okay, and then that leads to apoptosis, and the cells will commit suicide, recycle themselves. It also does the same thing with the P53 and the P21, which is another tumor suppressor gene. So it upregulates that. It is very similar to metformin in terms of glucose control, lowering glucose, lowering fasting insulins, and things like that. But the other amazing thing it does in terms of energy metabolism is it inhibits an enzyme called hexokinase 2. Hexokinase 2 is kind of the final rate limiting step that phosphorylates glucose when it enters the cell. So now it's going to go down the pathway of fermentation. It's going to ferment, all right? And that's upregulated in all kinds of cancers, right? It's upregulated tremendously because it wants to increase glucose uptake. Well, the fenbendazole suppresses that. What else does it do? It also helps the immune system recognize tumors and that's pretty incredible. Now, the other thing, I don't know if you've heard of tumor-associated macrophages, but our white blood cells called macrophages, when they get into the tumor microenvironment, start working for the tumor. They go into what's called the M2 state, and they become tumor-associated macrophages. This reverses that. That's why Joe's still alive. So, dog dewormer,